How much will it cost you to live in Greater Moncton, New Brunswick? That's what we're answering today.
Hi there, we are Denise and Marc, a husband and wife real estate team in Greater Moncton. In the last few years, Moncton has been one of the hot spots in Canada as a great place to relocate, mainly because of our cheap real estate prices and the quieter lifestyle that we enjoy. But when you move here, how much will you have to spend on things that you're currently spending money on? Today, we're going to answer that question for you by going through some of the most common things that make up your cost of living.
Housing is the biggest expense for the average person, regardless of where you live or if you buy or rent. If you're buying in Greater Moncton, here are the latest year-to-date average prices in our local market. If you're looking for a detached house, the current average price is $375,132, and semi-detached houses are coming in very close at $374,226. Townhouses and condos aren't as popular in our region as in other cities, but we're starting to see more townhouses pop up especially. Their average price is currently $337,639, and apartment style condos, they are coming in at $273,192.
Those numbers are good to know, but unless you're really fortunate, you're probably not paying cash for a house. So let's look at what might cost you per month using the current benchmark price of a detached home. Benchmark pricing is the number the Canadian Real Estate Association, or CREA, comes up with using the home price index by taking the sales from an area, removing the most expensive and the least expensive because they're generally exceptions and not the rule, and estimating the cost of the typical home in said area based on sales history and most popular features. Because it takes out the most and least expensive sales, is probably a better representation of what you could expect to pay for a typical or average home in the area. The current benchmark price is $374,300. So using a standard mortgage calculator at a 5% interest rate with a 5% down payment, your monthly payment will be approximately $2,150 per month. You'll also have property taxes to pay on top of that, which a lot of people will pay monthly along with their mortgage payment. More on that in a bit, but on a house in this price range, your monthly tax payment will be right around $450 per month. So combined, you're talking $2,600 per month.
If you're renting, we don't have stats available to us like we do on home sales. So what we did is scour a bunch of ads to come up with some costs you can expect to pay if you rent. The most common rentals are still in buildings, but you can also find basement apartments, one side of a duplex, or even a complete house. The most available types of unit, at the moment anyway, are 2 bedrooms with 1 bath. They range in price from $1,300 to $1,800 per month. A 1 bedroom, 1 bath is currently going for anywhere from $1,100 to $1,600 per month, and a 3 bedroom with 1 or 2 baths is going for $1,500 to $2,000 per month. If you're renting a complete house, expect to pay in the mid-2000s, sometimes a little less, but quite possibly more as well. When you move in, you will also be asked to submit a damage deposit.
Now, we don't work in the rental market, only on sales, but a little side note about rentals in New Brunswick. Some provinces are known to be very pro-tenant or pro-landlord, but New Brunswick doesn't really fall in either category. They will certainly protect tenant rights, but landlords definitely have rights in this province as well, and don't have to put up with bad tenants for an excessive amount of time.
And here are a few pro tips for you. With very few exceptions, a landlord can't ask you for a damage deposit in an amount larger than your monthly rent. They can't ask you for first and last month's rent as well as a damage deposit either. They can only ask for first month's rent and damage deposit. And finally, it's illegal for a landlord to hold the damage deposit personally. Damage deposits must be held by the province. They need to be paid at Service New Brunswick. I recommend going to Service New Brunswick yourself to pay it directly and go back to show the landlord it's been paid. In a previous video we did, at the time we were paying just under $300 per month for internet, TV, and home phone. Since then, the competitor came to our door and offered us a much better deal, so I called our current provider and we managed to get that same deal from them. We're now paying about half of that at $148. But this is one of those things that drives me crazy. Like, why is it that as a longtime customer, I need to call you because you're offering this great deal to a new customer? Like, how about just rewarding your loyal customers instead of giving everything to the new ones?
Absolutely. So switching to power, we live in a roughly 2,400 square foot split level home that was built sometime in the late 1970s. So it's not the most efficient as far as insulation goes. Our house is heated with electricity using a ducted heat pump, also known as central air. And we don't take any great measures to save electricity. And we have 3 kids still at home, so our washer, dryer, dishwasher, etc. always seems to be going. Yep. And our equalized power bill is $276 per month. Natural gas is not common here, but it is used in certain areas. We don't have an actual bill to use as an example since we are not on natural gas, but we did own a house once that was heated with it, and we found that the cost of the gas was roughly the same amount as the savings on our power bill. So it worked out to be approximately the same thing.
Yeah. And as far as water and sewer charges, each of the 3 municipalities of Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview do it a little differently, but no matter where you end up, you can expect to pay somewhere between $800 to $1,000 per year. It's billed out quarterly, so that works out to about $200 to $250 per month. We're in Moncton, where water is metered, so you pay by usage, and our quarterly bills are usually around $230 per month or so.
Getting around, if you own your own car, at the time of recording this video at the beginning of May 2024, regular gas is selling at $1.82 per liter. So if you have a 60-liter tank, which is quite common, it'll cost you about $108 to fill up from empty. According to the Insurance Bureau of Canada, the average car insurance rate in New Brunswick is $867 per year, or about $75 per month. I guess we're a little bit above average because I pay $1,680 per year, but I also have a new driver on my policy, and Marc pays about $1,300 per year. Yep. When you need an oil change, going to one of those drive-through places, you can get one for about $40. If you go to a dealership or your car uses synthetic oil, it'll be more like $100. A tire swap from summer to winter tires or vice versa, and tires not on rims will run you about $100.
And if you don't own a car and you prefer to use public transportation, you can jump on the bus for $3 per trip, or you can get a day pass for $7. If you'll be using the bus regularly, a 30-day pass will probably be your best bet for $71, $56 if you're a student or a senior. If you have a child that's 11 years old or younger, they ride for free. We don't have Uber here, but a 5-kilometer taxi trip by yourself will cost you approximately $14.
Your grocery bill can vary widely depending on where you'd like to do your shopping, but what better way to tell you how much you can expect to spend than to show you? So we went out and we got the staple items. We got a 12-pack of eggs, a 2-liter of milk, a bag of flour, a loaf of bread, a small tub of margarine, a box of cereal, a 4-pack of chicken breast, and a 10-pound bag of potatoes. This all came to $52.89.
And if cooking at home is not your thing and you'd rather eat out, you can expect to spend about $30 or so for 2 people at a fast food place, $60 to $100 at a sit-down chain restaurant, depending if you do appetizers and alcoholic drinks and dessert, or if you want to splurge and experience a little fine dining, you can easily expect to drop like $250 plus. Most goods and services you pay for in New Brunswick will be subject to 15% tax, which is made up of 10% provincial and the 5% GST federal tax. There are a very few exceptions like basic groceries and prescription drugs, but for the most part, everything is fair game, including one that really drives me crazy, used vehicles. No matter how many times a vehicle is bought and sold, when you go to Service New Brunswick or the DMV to register it, you'll have to pay 15% on the current Blue Book value of it. If you think about one of those cars like a Toyota Camry or a Honda Civic that just seem to last forever, and how many times that car might change hands over the years, imagine the tax dollars that car has brought in, probably more than its original sale price. It just drives me crazy.
A lot of things drive me crazy. Yes. When it comes to sales tax and real estate, If you're buying an existing home that's already owned by an individual, HST will not apply. If you're buying a newly constructed home from a builder, HST will apply. However, if the home is listed on MLS or realtor.ca, unless specified, the list price normally includes the HST, so you will not be paying the additional 15% on top of the price you're seeing.
When it comes to land, it can easily become confusing because there's not a lot of black and white, but a whole bunch of gray. What we can tell you is if one individual buys a parcel of land from another individual, HST will normally not apply. But if that selling individual has a large parcel and is subdividing it into smaller pieces, the first sale will usually be exempt from HST, but HST will apply to all sales after that. If the seller is a company, there's also a good chance that HST will apply there as well. I know it's really confusing. What we suggest is if you're looking at a piece of land, just make sure to find out beforehand whether or not you will have to pay an extra 15% over and above the list price, because unlike new construction, when land is listed on the MLS or realtor.ca, it's usually not listed with HST included.
Property taxes in Greater Moncton vary slightly within the municipalities of Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview, but they're all very close to a rate of $1.44 per $100 of assessed value. On your tax bill, you are also taxed at the provincial level at a rate of slightly over 56 cents per $100 of assessed value. So if we add those together, you're looking at $2 per $100. But if we're talking about your primary residence, you get a rebate of the provincial portion. So you are only responsible for the municipal portion. You can only qualify for the provincial portion rebate on one property. So if you own a cottage or an investment property, those are not your primary residence, and therefore you'll be on the hook for the provincial portion as well. If you've ever heard anyone talk about the double tax in New Brunswick, this is what they're talking about. It's not exactly double, but it does make your tax bill on the secondary properties much higher. If you use that benchmark price that we spoke about earlier of $374,000 as an example, instead of the $450 per month, you would be paying $625 per month. In 2022, the government of New Brunswick announced a new subsidy program for childcare. With this program in place, you'll pay in the area of $15 to $21 per day, depending on the daycare and the program that your child is in. We should mention too that it can be difficult to get into daycares because there are many waiting lists. Because of this, some parents have to opt for smaller in-home daycares. And in New Brunswick, those smaller daycares may not need to be licensed depending on how many kids they care for. If you have to go this route, there is a chance you may not qualify for the subsidy program. And finally, these are some just random everyday things that the average person might spend money on, whether daily or monthly, that didn't necessarily fit into one of the other categories. If you like going to the gym, like most cities, we have several gyms with all sorts of pricing models. Some have higher monthly fees, but then no annual fees, while others do the opposite, with cheap monthly fees, but a yearly fee as well. Depending on which model you prefer, you can pay anywhere from $15 to $30 per month for a gym membership. If you're like us and like to grab a coffee or a tea in my case when you're out and about, it'll cost you around $3, or you can easily spend $5 to $7 on one of those fancier drinks.
Catching a Wildcats game, that's our Quebec Major Junior Hockey League team. Tickets will run you $20 to $25 per person, and paid parking at events at the Avenir Centre will run you about $13. Other shows at the Avenir Centre, like concerts or headlining comedians, will run you in the vicinity of $100, give or take. And finally, if the movies are more your thing, tickets will be $12 each at the local Cineplex Theatre.
Okay, I feel like that was a lot, but hopefully it helped you get a good feel for the true cost of living in Greater Moncton.
We'd love to hear from you. How does it compare to your current region? Are things more expensive here, cheaper, the same? Let us know in the comments.
As always, if you have any questions for us or would like to partner with us to start your real estate journey, our contact information is below, so feel free to reach out. We are Denise and Marc. Thank you for watching and see you next time.